Today's vlog is all about gear. So I actually get a lot of questions from people, not so much on the internet, but in my life, asking, what kind of gear do you use? And it's a really complicated question because I use a lot of different gear for a lot of different things, but I've decided to collect all of the gear that I used almost daily for my vlogs and other projects. I'm going to try to organize it in some fashion that makes sense, but I'm really just going to kind of wing it and talk about each one of these things and how they help me do what I do. Okay, so the first thing is the star of the show. It's this thing right here. This is the Canon 70D, and this thing is awesome. It's a great DSLR, and in a lot of ways, it's built for video. Most DSLRs weren't really made for video, and so their sensors get really hot when you shoot a lot of video. This one, it still gets hot, but it takes much longer. So I can shoot about 30 minutes of video straight on this until the sensor kind of gets too hot and the camera shuts down, which makes this a perfect camera to vlog with. It's also not too heavy. It's got a flip out screen so I can look at myself and check the shot. And it's got a lot of customization to it so I can easily and quickly adjust things to make the picture or sound better. Speaking of sound, the thing that I use up here is called the Rode VideoMic Pro. This thing is also awesome. It's directional, so it picks up only the sound at the front and not so much at the back. So it's a perfect vlogging microphone because I want to pick up my voice, but really not much of the surrounding stuff. And paired with the 70D, I can really customize the options to make sure that my sound is always great in any environment. As far as other cameras that I use a GoPro regularly. I use my first ever DSLR, which is a Canon T2i. I of course use my iPhone because it's always with me. And then I have a couple of lenses that I use. So the lens on this camera right now is a wide angle lens, which again is perfect for vlogging because it allows me to capture all of the things around me. Sometimes you'll see me shoot on this. I do most of my time lapses on this lens because it's really high quality and I can zoom a lot. This is just a standard lens that I will use on my other DSLR if I'm shooting on that. I sometimes vlog with this, but I try not to because my face gets way too close. And then I recently got this guy. This is the Canon XA20. This is a heavy hitter video camera. Most of my major professional work will happen on this from now on. I'll still include the DSLR, but that's still more of like a handheld feel kind of camera, so they have very specific purposes. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I put my Canon 70D and the mic on top of this thing called the GorillaPod. This thing is so cool. So it's super strong and it allows me to hold the camera out in front of me like this. So the camera sits here, everything screws in tight, and it has this 360 ball head so I can move the camera any which way. The coolest part is that these legs bend in any way. So my normal setup is usually looks kind of like this. So I hold it out far enough to where the wide angle lens is getting a lot of things, but not so far that you start to see my arm or you see the GorillaPod itself. If I set the camera down, I'll just quickly move this and put this in really unique ways so the camera can sit anywhere I want it to. And almost every time my camera falls, it's because I've twisted this in some weird way that I think would hold the camera, but it actually doesn't. As far as tripods go, I also use the thing that this camera is sitting on right now, which is a Mi Photo tripod that's super compact. I love it. It's super strong. It's got a 360 ball head, and it goes so small so I can travel with it really easily. I have another Rode microphone that I use sometimes. This mic is not directional, so it captures all of the sound around. So this is more ideal for something like recording music or live events where you want to capture everything. The vlogs or the videos where you hear me talking but you don't see me talking, I almost always use this. This is the Blue Yeti. I've had this thing for 4 or 5 years now and it's still going strong. It's awesome. But I always use a pop filter with it, which I have one of these, which works really well. On the topic of sound, I have a Zoom H4n, which allows me to capture quality audio pretty much in any situation. I use this more for my professional videos and things where I need to make sure I have sound from a lot of different areas. I will also use this, which is an interface. It's the Focusrite Scarlett, and this has just really good preamps that allow me to control and have great audio coming in. I use this for all my live streams. This is what my mic plugs into and allows me to capture really high quality audio. The mic that I'm using now for live streaming and other live events is this. This is the Rode NT4, and this guy is really cool. We've got a stereo pair right here, and it's all contained, and it comes with its own custom cord that splits out its one connection into two XLR outputs. So this thing travels really well, and this is what I will use when I travel with my mobile setup. Going into the cameras, I just have normal SD cards. I carry everything around in this pouch, which is really cool. It's a nice Pelican case, it's waterproof, and I've got all of my cards numbered so I know what's missing, what's in my camera, and all that kind of stuff. I always keep 128 gigs of storage in this camera. That way I can go a couple of days of vlogging without clearing off the card. When I do clear off my cards, I put them on external hard drives, and pretty much every single one of these that I have is portable. That's because I do a lot of traveling. I edit in a lot of different places, so I need to make sure that this can go with me. So I have 3 of these drives, 2 of another drive. I have more than I can honestly remember, but they fill up so quickly, so I have to make sure that I always have storage. They travel around with me in these Amazon Basics cases, which are really cool and they're really handy. I keep everything numbered, put my phone number on them, and that way these guys always stay safe. The last thing I'll talk about is my M-Audio keyboard. I don't use this daily, but sometimes I do work on music and write music for the vlog and for other things, for video projects. So this is the guy that I plug into my computer into Logic Pro and allows me to write music. Speaking of Logic Pro, I need to talk about programs. So I use Final Cut Pro to edit all of my videos. Final Cut Pro gets a lot of flack, and I think some of it's deserved, but I actually think it's a really good program, and it's getting better. There's a lot of things that I don't like, but for kind of like a prosumer like me, it's a perfect piece of software, and it gets the job done, and Apple support is really good, so they're always helping me if I have issues. I also use Logic Pro X to write music, to edit audio. So when I edit a video in Final Cut Pro, I'll often take the audio out of that, edit it in Logic Pro, which is a digital audio workspace, edit it in there, and then bring it back to Final Cut Pro so everything looks and sounds great. I do almost all of my video editing on a Mac Pro that I have. I love this computer. It's given me some problems, but having the Mac Pro set up with all 3 of these monitors and kind of everything at my fingertips has been awesome. I also edit with a MacBook Pro on the go, but I really like to be here when I work so I can have all of this screen real estate to kind of push things around. No, I didn't really go into detail about too many things, and I will eventually. I like to review things, and I will review a lot of this stuff, but I just wanted to give a basic overview of the things that I use pretty much daily. I hope this answers a lot of the questions that some of you have. If you have any other questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to show you anything that I use. I think this vlog ends now. I've got everything, oh, sorry. Yeah, you can come in. I've got everything, actually I'll wait for you to close the door a second.